In the distance, the nightmare dragon remained completely still as it observed the unfolding scene with gray light flashing incessantly in its eyes. Right at this moment, a tiny speck of golden light suddenly emerged at the center of the black and white millstone, and it was as minuscule as a firefly, but also very eye-catching. In the blink of an eye, the speck of golden light began to rapidly expand while spreading outward, and countless golden ripples began to surge throughout the surrounding area, giving off a vast law aura. The white ice and black lightning were both instantly slowed down significantly upon making contact with this golden light, which continued to expand rapidly, encompassing an area that was over 10 kilometers in size in the blink of an eye, to form a massive golden area. The nightmare dragon's expression changed slightly upon seeing this, and it instantly flew back to several dozen kilometers away, just barely avoiding the fate of being encompassed within the golden spirit domain. However, the white python and the black fish weren't able to react as quickly, and they were also swallowed up in the golden area, with their movements slowing down significantly. Immediately thereafter, Han Li shot out of the ice and lightning, completely unscathed. He then raised a hand before flicking a finger through the air, and two extremely thin strands of golden light instantly shot forth, hurtling directly toward the pair of spirit beasts. Alarmed and horrified expressions instantly appeared on their faces as they tried to take evasive measures, but the effects of Han Li's time law powers meant that they were far too slow. The two streaks of golden light flashed over their bodies, and both of them were split into two from head to toe in complete silence. The two halves of their bodies split apart extremely slowly, and they were still moving in the direction that the two of them had attempted to flee in, while the blood that was gushing out of their wounds was also moving just as slowly. In contrast, the two threads of golden light were extraordinarily fast, and they vanished into thin air in the blink of an eye before reappearing in front of Han Li. An instant later, one of them was wound around a tiny white snake, while the other was wrapped around a miniature black fish. The two nascent souls were completely immobilized, as if they had been frozen in time. In a lightning-fast sequence, two golden immortal stage demon beasts had been slain. The nightmare dragon's pupils contracted slightly upon seeing this. Let's not waste any more time with these unnecessary probing gestures, fellow Taoist Q Ling. Did you really think these two demon beasts would have been able to harm me at all? Han Li scoffed as he cast his gaze toward the nightmare dragon, and at the same time, he swept a sleeve through the air to release a burst of golden light, which swept up the pair of nascent souls. The two nascent souls then instantly vanished from the spot, while the nightmare dragon exclaimed in a stunned voice, "This is impossible. If you had a spirit domain of your own, then there's no way you would have been trapped in mine. Unless your suspicions are correct." Han Li confirmed with a faint smile. "I really have to thank you, fellow Taoist Q Ling." Up to this point, Han Li was able to confirm that the spirit domain manifestation method taught to him by the soul fragment was real, and it had allowed him to attain his own spirit domain. This was the first time that he was using it, and it had worked exceptionally well. "What are you saying?" the nightmare dragon asked as a hint of fury flashed through its eyes. "Q Ling, you tried to take my life with your spirit domain earlier, so let's have our spirit domains clash and see which one comes out on top," Han Li declared in a cold voice as he flew through the air, and his enormous golden spirit domain followed him like a golden cloud. In the distance, Jin Tong had pulled out a small gong, and she was beating it in a haphazard manner as she yelled in encouragement. "You can do it, Han Li! Take down that old witch!" Meanwhile, Liu Qing was hovering in midair while observing Han Li from afar with amazement in her eyes. He's using the laws of time. In the next instant, a burst of light flashed over her body, and she vanished into the city down below without attracting any attention. Meanwhile, radiant gray light had emerged over the nightmare dragon's entire body, and it was flying back in retreat, not allowing Han Li's golden spirit domain to come into contact with itself. At the same time, it raised one of its claws, and the gray cloud up above instantly descended to envelop its entire body. In the blink of an eye, the gray cloud transformed into a gray spirit domain as well, and it began to expand outward, reaching close to 20 kilometers in size in the blink of an eye. Its spirit domain was close to twice the size of Hanli's, and it swallowed up his spirit domain within it. An alarmed look appeared in Hanli's eyes upon seeing this. During their previous battle, the spirit domain that she had unleashed had been far smaller than this. He had guessed that that wasn't the limit of her spirit domain, but he didn't think that it could be expanded so drastically. Encompassed within the gray spirit domain, Hanli's brows furrowed slightly as he felt his strength rapidly seeping away. While his immortal spiritual power circulation was also becoming rather sluggish, he immediately gave a cold harumph as a golden light barrier appeared over his body. Bursts of time law powers were flowing within the light barrier, alleviating much of the feebleness in his body. However, in the face of Quling's true spirit domain, even his time law powers were unable to completely ward off the effects of her spirit domain. While the nightmare dragon was flying back in retreat, that gray throne reappeared on the top of its head amid a flash of gray light. Every single one of the spirit patterns on the gray throne instantly began to radiate dazzling gray light, while the 3 mirror projections emerged behind it once again. The first mirror was radiating dazzling golden light, but the other 2 mirrors were completely dull and devoid of luster. The nightmare dragon pointed a claw at the second mirror before releasing a streak of translucent light, and the second mirror instantly began to glow brightly as well, shooting forth a burst of radiant black light that transformed into a giant black sword before crashing down toward Hanli. The black sword was giving off a burst of formidable law power fluctuations, the same law power that was able to sow the seed of insanity in the target's heart. However, as soon as the giant black sword entered Hanli's spirit domain, it was instantly slowed down significantly, and he was able to dodge it with ease. The nightmare dragon's heart sank slightly upon seeing this. Right at this moment, the golden spirit domain around Hanli suddenly swept back without any warning before vanishing into his body. Without the protection of his time law powers, a pained look instantly appeared on his face. But he gritted his teeth and withstood it. The nightmare dragon was rather taken aback to see this, but before it had a chance to do anything, Hanli began to chant an urgent incantation, following which his mantra Treasured Axis appeared behind him before beginning to spin in reverse. Hanli's entire body instantly lit up with dazzling golden light once again, and he shot forward at an incredible speed, leaving a trail of golden after-images in his wake. In the blink of an eye, he had covered over half of the distance between himself and the nightmare dragon. The nightmare dragon's expression changed drastically upon seeing this, and it let loose an alarmed roar. BTU, right as it was about to do something, the golden light radiating from Hanli's body brightened even further, while spreading outward to form his golden spirit domain again in the blink of an eye. Before the nightmare dragon had a chance to take any evasive measures, it was encompassed within Hanli's spirit domain. As a result, its speed was drastically diminished, and the distance between itself and Hanli was shrinking even more rapidly. The nightmare dragon's expression changed drastically as it opened its mouth to release a pillar of gray light. Countless runes could be seen flashing within the pillar of gray light, and it vanished into the third mirror behind the gray throne in a flash. Traces of white light instantly emerged on the surface of the third mirror, and even though the white light was very bright, it was also completely devoid of vitality, much like the bright gleam that a bleached skeleton would emit while being baked under the sun. The nightmare dragon opened its mouth once again to release a ball of gray blood essence, which swelled drastically to form a cloud of gray mist, within which were 9 translucent gray threads that wrapped themselves around the 3 mirror projections. The 3 mirrors shuddered in unison, while releasing a burst of suction force that sucked in all of the gray mist in the blink of an eye. Immediately thereafter, 3 pillars of light that were gray, black, and white in color, respectively, shot out of the mirrors to form dozens of 3-colored dragon projections, every single one of which was comparable in size to the nightmare dragon, and they were giving off 3 types of completely different law power fluctuations. The dozens of 3-colored dragon projections instantly pounced at Han Li at the Nightmare Dragon's behest, forming a profound array as they hurtled toward the oncoming Han Li. Thanks to their special array, the dragon projections were able to move at an extraordinary speed, and even though they were affected by Han Li's golden spirit domain, they weren't much slower than him. Han Li's brows furrowed slightly upon seeing this, but he then gave a cold harumph as he swept a sleeve through their air, and 3 giant azure swords emerged in front of him. Each sword was over 1,000 feet in length, and they were radiating dazzling azure light, giving them the appearance of 3 radiant azure suns. Incredibly thick arcs of golden lightning emerged over the surfaces of the 3 giant swords. Now that Han Li had reached the mid-golden immortal stage, he was able to control 3 of his azure bamboo cloud swarm swords at once without much trouble. With a flick of his finger, 3 time law threads shot forth, and each of them vanished into one of the azure bamboo cloud swarm swords in a flash. The 3 azure bamboo cloud swarm swords instantly drew to an abrupt halt in midair, while the azure light that they were radiating became several times brighter, and it was interspersed with blinding golden light. The thick arcs of divine Devilbane lightning flashing over the swords also brightened significantly, then transformed into a series of giant lightning runes that revolved around the swords. The 3 giant azure swords began to tremble as a burst of sword chi that was several times more formidable than before erupted forth, causing the entire surrounding space to shudder. In the next instant, the 3 giant lightning swords released a flurry of lightning sword projections at Han Li's behest, and the sword projections swallowed up all of opposing dragon projections before destroying them in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, Han Li only paused for a moment before continuing to fly forward like lightning, spurred on by his reversal true axis secret technique. Before long, he was no more than several thousand feet away from the Nightmare Dragon.